What's going on, guys? It's Luke here. We're going to run through a quick weekly outlook about how I'll be approaching the week of October 6th to the 10th, 2025. As you guys know, we're dealing with that government shutdown right now, so there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, and I'm not really going to be getting into the news, obviously, because everything is postponed and delayed. We had NFP delayed on Friday, so if you guys follow me on TikTok name is the same as my YouTube name. I'll put it in the pinned comment below. I'll put a link there. I'm going to be talking about how I'm going to be approaching day by day a little bit more in depth on there, so go follow me on there and I'll post it on there. But this outlook video is basically going to be on technical analysis and just the areas I have marked out on my charts, because even though we did have the government shutdown, as we see, we had a very bullish week. So we're just going to be marking out our draws and liquidity areas that I'm watching for the week, and basically just how I'm approaching the week in the technical sense, right? So we're going to start from the top. We're going to go through NQ, and then we're going to move to ES. Obviously, we had a strong monthly close on the September candle. Very bullish. We're super overextended bullish, but we're very, just in a trending bullish market. Everything is pumping, crypto's going up. And yeah, we had a strong bullish close. We go to the weekly. Our weekly is obviously still in bullish order flow, and what I have marked out right now is our previous week's high, which is our all-time high. I have our previous week's low, which is around 24,636, and then I have this small weekly fair value gap, which is resting right below this weekly low right here, and then I have this weekly bullish fair value gap as well. So our weekly is in bullish order flow. We are very extended to the upside. If you zoom out, we have been pumping pretty much straight since April. So eventually, we're probably going to have a correction, and not sure exactly when that's going to happen, but there's something to keep an eye on. Again, for weekly draws and liquidity, I have marked out my all-time high, my previous week's low, and these weekly fair value gaps, and this weekly low right here. Going down to the daily, we're still in bullish order flow as well. Obviously, if you look from Monday, we had that nice pullback here on Wednesday, and then we continued back up to all-time highs again on the daily. Just trending bullish, just pretty much putting in higher highs and higher lows, continuing in price discovery. And we have marked out this daily fair value gap, which has already been reacted off of, but I feel like this is going to be a key area to be watching at the start of the week. So let's run over to ES really quick, and then we'll come back, because both NQ and ES are pretty much moving the exact same. On the monthly, we had a strong bullish close on the September candle. Our weekly is in bullish order flow. On the weekly, I have marked out our previous week's high, which is also the all-time high. Previous week's low right here. We have this weekly low right here, and then we have this weekly fair value gap resting. This is actually not the weekly low. This is the weekly low right here, and then we have this weekly fair value gap right here. And then on the daily, we have bullish order flow once again. We also have this small daily low resting above the weekly fair value gap, but pretty much the exact same scenario that NQ is in. So I'm just going to go over to NQ and kind of just talk about quick how I'm going to be approaching every single day. So basically, we're going to be just looking to trade with the trend until we're told that the trend is flipping bearish. So one key thing that I'm going to be watching is how we continue to hold this daily fair value gap right here. As you can see, we had a nice reaction on Friday, and we continue to have a small bounce out of that fair value gap, but this is going to be a key area that I'm going to be watching. If we continue to hold this daily fair value gap, then I'm going to be looking for continuations up, potentially move back into price discovery, and we continue to put in new highs and new lows. And what we do basically when we're at all-time highs is we wait for kind of overnight levels to be our targets, basically. So for example, say we have London high and Asia high right here, we have a nice pullback, and then we look to long back up to those levels, our overnight levels, in order to make a new higher high and for the trend to continue higher. So scenario number one, we have price discovery. We continue to bounce off this daily bullish fair value gap. We continue into price discovery, and we look to target overnight highs as our targets. Scenario number two, if we start to trend below and trade below this daily fair value gap, we might look for an inverse, and then look for price to at least attack this previous week's low right here. That's going to be our first major sell side draw on liquidity on the higher time frame, right? So that's going to be our key areas that we're going to be wanting to look at. We're going to be wanting to first watch our all-time high, obviously, this daily fair value gap, and previous week's low. So if we continue to maintain bullish order flow, we're going to want to see if price can go into price discovery, put in higher highs, higher lows, and we're going to be wanting to target our overnight highs as our draws on liquidity every single day going into the market. If we inverse this daily fair value gap, we're going to be looking potentially for price to want to flood down to that previous week's low, and then maybe from there we do see a recovery bounce, and then we look to go back to long to the upside. And then third scenario, if we start to trend bearish, we break through that fair value gap, we inverse it, we continue to trend lower, then I do see if we get below the previous week's low, we could be potentially coming into these higher time frame weekly fair value gaps right here. So those are going to be pretty much the only three scenarios that you can work with. If we continue to maintain bullish order flow, we respect this gap, we're going to be looking for price to bounce into price discovery, and then we'll have to go from there and then reassess when that happens, again using our overnight levels as draws and liquidity. Scenario number two, if we flip through this daily fair value gap, we inverse it, then we're going to be looking to target previous week's low, and then from there we can either seek reversals off the previous week's low or continuations lower to the next draw on liquidity, which is going to be that weekly low and into those weekly fair value gaps, and then we'll have to reassess from there. Again, market is very extended to the upside, but the rule of thumb is obviously when you're at all-time highs is to trade with the trend. So you pretty much just have to take it day by day, target our overnight levels, and see what order flow is looking like coming into the market each and every day, and kind of also pay attention to how the news and what's coming out with the news and the updates going on with that. So be sure to be on top of that. But these are the areas I have marked on my charts. Really quick one today: all-time high, which is our previous week's high, previous week's low, daily fair value gap, these weekly gaps down here. Again, I'm going to be going through the news on my TikTok, so just give me a follow there and I'll run through that when we get some updates on that. Otherwise, this week, until this government situation is figured out, I will be de-risking, and I will mainly be staying on evaluations and just trying to pass evals in the meantime, because I don't really want to be allocating a ton of capital on funded accounts and stuff like that, especially if we don't know when the news is going to be released. So we're going to be taking it day by day, and we're taking it step by step and seeing how every day plays out, paying attention to when the news is released, and we'll go from there. So that's going to wrap it up for me, guys. If you guys want to join the Discord for daily pre-market analysis, live trade commentary, all that stuff, exclusive videos, link will be in the pinned comment. It's free to join. And if you guys need a sign up link for Alpha Futures, link will also be in the pinned comment as well as my TikTok link. So that's going to wrap it up for me, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.